please tell us where you're from.
Go ahead and type it in the chat. We have 3 guests currently. This is the largest number of people we've had registered. Not everybody shows up, but that's okay because they do get the emails afterwards. So if you registered on Eventbrite, we then had to take your information and put it into the Zoom registration to get you the link because for some reason it wasn't working on Eventbrite for us to do that. And if you'd like to be continuing to receive emails or information regarding our webinars and other things we do. Oh, well, hello, my sister is here. We don't say names usually, so people can put their information in the chat, but please go ahead and, okay, hell turned into hello. That's good. Life is getting better. So we'll start in just a minute. We have some more people coming. And again, as you arrive, whether you're watching us on Facebook or you're here on the webinar, please just tell us where you are in the world and what attracted you to coming to this webinar this evening. What are you, and we'll just go from there. And we'll start in just a couple of moments, but we'd love to know where you're calling in from. You don't have to give us your address. We just want to know
Please don't give us your address.
What state or country are you here from? We've had a lot of students from the university system. So if you're doing a school project or you're in a class, we would love to know that. And I think we'll get started.
Yeah, sounds good.
All right. So first, we like to start by recognizing that, first of all, welcome to everyone. Welcome, Margena. Welcome, Jodi. Welcome, Misha. Welcome to all of you who are watching on Facebook, here in the webinar. And those of you who are watching the replay, feel free to respond with a hashtag replay, and we'd be happy to entertain your thoughts and comments and questions if there's time. We do want to say that all land is Indigenous land. We want to honor that. We want to recognize that. And we also want to say that all races, genders, cultures, abilities, and sexual orientations, you are valued here. You are heard, accepted, and welcome here. And I would like to just take a moment of silence for all people and our Black brothers and sisters who are currently suffering in the world. Thank you, everyone. And welcome, Mama Jean from California. Aw, Mama Jean, I wish we could meet you. We had Zuri and Ty on our webinar, and now we have Mama Margena. And Mama Jean is here. Oh, Margena, how special that your mom is here. Oh.
Yes, thank you. Yay. She's my godmom.
Oh,
she's my mom, but she's my godmom.
Mom times 2.
Mom passed
Mom
away.
Squared.
For me?
Mom squared.
Oh yes, I am mommed up for sure.
Love it. So Jodi's going to share the purpose of the webinar, the reason we started it.
Misha actually created the webinar and asked me to join. And the webinar was created to engage in honest and authentic conversations about the long time injustice of racism in America. During the webinars, we discussed systemic racism in an effort to dismantle white supremacy from the inside out. Our mission with these webinars is to participate in sustainable action and highlight the voices of Black, Indigenous, and people of color, community members, giving them a safe space to be heard about their own experiences, challenges, and hopes without the need to educate white people.
Yeah. That's it. So if you're white and you're here, we just invite you to sit back and listen and be present for our guest, Margena. And we do send follow-up emails with a lot of resources. One we recently are adding is Roots by Alex Haley. I don't know why we didn't have it on there sooner. I watched it in elementary school and it never left my mind, my heart. Jodi actually watched it recently, but there's a whole list that we'll be sending out of podcasts, interviews, documentaries, articles, books, charities that you can support, all to educate yourselves. So tonight we are truly here to listen to Margena, to hear her experiences with racism, systemic racism, her feelings. And there is nothing wrong with what Margena shares because it is Margena's experience. So we just want to put that out there as we invite you to listen. You may have some different experiences, and those are your experiences. And if you are a member of the Black, Indigenous, or people of color community, we welcome you to email us and be a guest on our panel in the future. Tonight is Margena's night. So we'll get into introductions with Jodi and then me, and then we'll do a big introduction for Margena.
So I'm going to be quick because this is Margena's time. But my name's Jodi Lewis. I'm an attorney. I work for a nonprofit organization helping survivors of domestic and sexual violence. Specifically, we do appellate work, hoping to make systemic change. I've been in the field helping survivors for a very long time. Obviously, there's an intersection between systemic racism and oppression and Blacks and violence, particularly violence against women. And this webinar is particularly important to me because I've lived in white privilege for a long time. In fact, I consider myself having lived in a white bubble for a long time. And I am breaking out of that bubble and trying to be an ally. And I recognize that I have been racist at times through my life, unintentionally, in my white privilege. So that's why it's very important for me to be here.
Thank you. Yeah. And we both have recognized together that that's not an excuse, that we are here to learn more every day to be the better version of ourselves so that we can live in community. So, and I am Misha Safran, and I am a Mastery Certified Life Coach. I work with people of all backgrounds, but currently working with the LGBTQIA community. We are a lesbian couple, and I also have my hands in, we have a conscious couple community for lesbians, and we also are starting March 7th a girls empowerment program, which is very exciting for girls who are 11 to 18 to help them find their voice and use it in an impactful way. And I am trilingual in French, Spanish, and English, and a singer-songwriter. So without further ado, I would like to be able to share my screen, and I'm going to introduce you all to Margena. And of course, now I can't find the button that clicks, oh, there it is, that I can do screen share. And again, if you're just arriving, please tell us what state, country you're in. You don't have to give us your mailing address, but we just want to make sure that you are here and able to be connected with us. So this month, February 27, 2021, we're delighted to be speaking with Margena Wade-Green. And Margena actually came to us. She is the mother of new friends of ours, Zuri and Ty. Zuri, actually, her daughter gave me these earrings, Black Lives Matter. Margena identifies as a Black woman. She is married with 3 children and 8 grandchildren. She grew up in the racist town of Alameda, California, and works for a nonprofit called Children Rising. And by the way, Children Rising is one of the places that we're asking folks to make donations to. We are making donations to Catalyst Youth Network, but both organizations are very important to Margena. So she is also on the board of a nonprofit called Catalyst Youth Network. Margena is the Dean of Summer Camp for Girls, sponsored by Today's Youth Matters. And she has her own public relations business for construction projects and also owns an 18-wheeler tractor that operates in Texas. I can't do an accent. Okay. Margena Wade-Green is a singer and songwriter. Ooh, and we have heard her voice. She sings with her daughter.
Beautiful.
And she does all other things as well. Mostly gospel music, and has recently published a video and an album named Masterpiece, Melodies from the War Room. Additionally, Margena is a praise and worship team leader at her church. We actually went and saw their choir sing. It was wonderful. And helps her daughter's vegan taco truck business wherever she can. They are really good.
Delicious.
Blacos Tacos. As many others could attest, she too has been on the battlefield of racism all her life. I forgot to edit that. I apologize. And so we're happy to be able to speak with Margena this evening. Margena, wholehearted welcome.
Yes.
So good
Thank
to be here with you.
Thank you. This is really special. Probably anybody on this guest list here could be sitting in this seat. So I'm really honored that, you asked me to be with you tonight.
Thank you. Well, the microphone, the platform is all yours to share as you wish. And just a reminder to guests, you can put questions in the chat and we can field them, or to the Q&A to Margena. And she may or may not, welcome from Philadelphia, fabulous. She may or may not have time to answer them, and that's just want to invite you all to be okay with that. She's going to share what comes from her head and her heart and her spirit. And yeah, the mic is yours, Margena.
Okay, well, thank you. I am one of 9 children, second to the last in my family. My mother and father met in Tennessee at a cafe, and she had been sent to work at an uncle's cafe, and here in comes this army guy, and he says, I'm going to marry you. And she said, well, if you do, you have to promise to let me go to school. So fast forward, like she was 16, and fast forward, she had all these kids, and then she went to school. So her tenacity to still go to school as a grown adult with, all these children already has really taught my whole family how to drive and persevere and push through things. And he said, well, and she said, and I don't want to have any children. He said, well, don't worry, I can't have any children. And so she thought, oh, good, this right down her alley. And so when she found out she was pregnant like the 3rd time, she's like, no, this is not happening. You can't have to. He said, I didn't say that I could make a baby. I couldn't make a baby. I said I couldn't have children. As a man, I could not have a child.
Oh
So
my!
she was 16, and she was gullible, and she fell for it, and she like went round and round with doctors about, no, my husband can't have children. So that's the funny story about my mom. But her stamina and her ability to hold my dad up in hard times when we lived in Alameda and Alabama really became a part of our fabric, because we saw our parents go through a lot of racism, but they didn't tell us that's what it was. So in Alabama, my dad was a bricklayer, and he would bring home the broken bricks, and he built us a whole house on Elm Street in Mobile, Alabama, with broken bricks and just things that he was supposed to throw away. Well, when his boss found out that he had built this beautiful home with these broken bricks, they were ready to get rid of him. And shortly after that, there was a cross burned in our yard. And they did not want my dad to be there anymore. So my dad said, that's enough, and we're moving to California. So he came, and then he sent for the family, and we were all on a train with my mom running around. Probably the train. She had a little baby in her arms, and I was probably like 2.
Wow.
So that's what brought us to California. And then my dad, he was responsible for bringing like her brothers to California and their wives and their family, and taught them all bricklaying jobs, and they learned how to build houses and be carpenters, and so my family is just permeated with construction people. And my sister, just jump in a little bit, my youngest sister Ann has done our history in our ancestry history, and come to find out all of them were builders.
Wow.
And so it's really exciting to know that something is still in us that was in our ancestors.
Yeah.
But moving here to Oakland first, and we lived on Kirkham Street. There was an old Nabisco company there, and they used to give us the Carnation ice cream factory there, and they used to give us candy and ice cream, and we'd play along. But my dad ended up saying, let's move to Alameda. It was just he just thought it would be better for us. So he bought this old 2-story Victorian home, and we all lived there together. He remodeled it, and he even came to a point where he had to take the roof off, and we lived without a roof for several weeks, I don't know, and with no roof because he had taken it off. So he raised the house up, and he, renovated the whole bottom, and then he tore the top off and did that. And it was a beautiful 7-bedroom, 3-bathroom, 2 fireplaces, extra long kitchen, everything you would, pay $1 million for today. And so when they built the home during that time, my dad would use the morning times to build on his house. Then he'd go to work. And our neighbors would complain and call the police and say he's making noise. And, the kids were doing things. My brothers were being pulled over by the policemen all the time. And my older brother and sisters, they were like, called names at school. One of them, my brother Aaron, his teacher would always tell him, you can't learn. I'm going to put you in the special ed class, because you can't learn. And that's what they did. But he ended up being like the captain of the debate team by the time he got to high school. So it was all these different things. And then my mom having to manage kids in school and be my dad's bookkeeper. And my dad has built so many fireplaces and driveways in Alameda, but some people wouldn't pay him after. So I remember my mom taking me and maybe my little sister or brother to some of these people's homes who did not pay him. And she'd be holding our hand. She said, I'm here to pick up my husband's check. And they would be, all snobby. I don't have a check, whatever the reason was. And she says, no. My children have to be fed like your children have to be fed. I will wait here for my check. And so they would end up paying her because she just wasn't going to take no for an answer. And eventually she was one of the founders of the Alameda chapter of the NAACP. Wow. And so then people start calling her and saying, this is happening to me. This is happening to me. They were calling saying that they went to rent a house right there on Central Street where everybody should, everybody looks like everybody. And they said, oh, the rent was so high, I couldn't afford it. Yeah. And then so my mom started getting her white friends, go and try to rent that apartment and see what price they get you. And so then she sent them, they would go knock on the doors and say, you told this one 500 and you told this one 300. I'm giving you an example of the money.
Yeah, right. Wow.
But she's the one who called about her, and the rest of her NAACP members would call people out. She led the boycott of Bank of America on Webster Street back in the day because they wouldn't hire any Black people. And all of our money was at Bank of America. Everybody's 2 cents was in Bank of America. That was just the bank there. And so that one day they had a protest. They lined up all around the bank, all outside down the corner, and they were withdrawing their money. And then when they saw that all the people who were there to close their accounts, they said, okay, we'll give you 3 positions. And so one of them's position was named Donna Lee. Yeah. And she ended up retiring from Bank of America since then. So now she's a senior like me, but that's what happened. And that's what had to happen because they weren't going to do it on their own. We had to show them in the pocket. We have to show them by boycotting the bus. We had to show them by, not shopping at their stores. We had to do all those things so that they would listen. And, eventually all my brothers, they all know construction work. And even I know how to carry 8 bricks on one side and 1 in the hand, because we would have to get my dad's truck ready in the morning to go to work. So they'd have to clean hoses and all that kind of stuff and load up his truck so he could go to work. And then we'd go to school. So I just remember a few times I was very young that I would carry bricks, for my dad.
That's
but my brothers had it hard because they had to work in the morning, then go to school and be badgered and be, mistreated and labeled and all these other things, and then come home and my dad would have to have them clean the truck, unload the hoses, clean out the concrete, all of that. And yeah, it was tough. And then I had a neighbor next door, well, across the street from us. And my friend who lived there, her name was Jodi. And her parents wouldn't let her play with me. But we were at school sitting right next to each other, and we live right across the street. So, you know what we do? We just walk to the corner, around the corner, there's some bushes there. So, and that's when hot pants was coming out and stuff, and our parents didn't want them to wear, we stuffed the hot pants in the bushes. And then we would take them to school and change. But me and Jodi would walk to school together. We would play at school. And then when we got back to the bushes, we'd say, okay, bye, bye. And her parents didn't get to know how good we were to each other, you know, how sweet that relationship was. And here at my age, I still think about Jodi. I have no idea what happened to her, what, you know, none of that. But it just, you know, it was just parents driving this systemic stream, you know, onto their kids, and their kids didn't want it.
Right.
But then, you know, it started being a privilege to them. And then they start forgetting about the relationship that we had in elementary school. They were like, you know, just kind of went their own way. And some of them could afford to go to college that I never seen anymore, you know. So it was really hard coming up in Alameda. And I don't think it's changed that much, because my mom said on national TV probably 15 years ago, she's lived in Tennessee, Kentucky, Alabama, Florida, all these different places. She said, but Alameda was the most racist place I've ever lived.
Wow.
Yeah. And so they ended up having a conference about that at Alameda College, because she said that on national TV. But still, you know, people rise when the occasion comes, and then they just fade back. So I'm really grateful for people like you who are taking this forward, because that's one of the problems that keeps it systemic, is that people rise on that day or that hour, and then they fade back. It's like oh well. So what is going to help this systemic is for people to march forward like you guys are doing. Do what you can to move this thing forward. And I never thought in a million years that we would be fighting this same argument from when I was in elementary school. And I'm no young chick, but this is like, I just always thought things would get better, because in my world coming up, my parents were stepping forward every time. They'd address things, they'd go to things, they had NAACP marches and meetings, and, you know, get people jobs and homes, and changing, you know, some of the laws in Alameda. And I even worked for the Alameda Police Department when I was in high school as a high school intern. And, you know, they treated me well. So they know better. But when they got out in the streets, they were stopping my brothers. They didn't know they were my brothers, right? I mean, they were, you know, but we had so many kids, the teachers would say, when are the Wades gonna stop coming? Because if one gets to fourth grade to fifth grade, another one went from third to fourth. And we were just like this all through elementary school and middle school and high school. We all went to Encinal High School. So it was really difficult. And to see my brothers get beat up and called words, called all alphabets of words that are hurtful. And so I became the bully. I'm like, I'm not going to that school and let them kids beat me up like they beat up my brothers. So I became the one who's like, you better not mess with me, because I will knock you out. That's just how I had survival, you know, put survival around me, is that I had to go in and make sure I don't come home with a black eye. I don't come home with torn clothes. I don't come home, with being called names. And so, yeah, I did. I became the bully. I was like about the eighth one to come through school, and they were like, Margena ain't gonna take that. So, but it was when God came into my life that part changed. And so it's not that I hate anybody, but I despise like the white people who were hurting my brothers and my sister. And I'm like, if white people do that, my guard is up for them. I'm waiting, they're not going to treat me like that. So I really had to get on my knees and ask the Lord, how do I put this, at another place? It's an experience that I had. I can't get rid of it, but how do I, channel it better so that I'm not the one inflicting pain or harm or ugly words at people? But I think I was just protecting myself, from that. I never really got in a fight or anything, but I was just all talk. But when I got in high school, that's when it really started setting in that, and I don't care if people ask questions in between, it's okay with me. Okay. When I got to high school, Misha and Jodi, I love school so much. And I didn't have that much to do as a Black girl. I mean, I put myself in Girl Scouts, I put myself in Bluebirds only because I wanted to belong, but I didn't know that I was being mistreated. I just thought that's how people are, because I was like the only Black girl in Girl Scouts, and so I was left out of a lot of things. And, they had to have a parent to come along, and my parents got all these, all these kids and working and everything. So I just joined myself secretly. My mom said she never knew until I brought some Girl Scout cookies home, but because I just wanted to belong, and I wanted to be doing something. And I joined, we called it Candy Stripers. Oh, yeah. Where you go out and you have this little uniform on. And I worked at 3 convalescent centers, all during my, early, late middle school and early high school. And when I drive by there now, I just get some kind of feeling, they're still up, but they're different things now. But, so I did that. And my mom was like, well, I didn't see you doing that. Like, when did you become a candy striper? I'm like, I gotta go, I gotta go. I would work weekends anytime they wanted me to work, made friends with, all the older people and everything. And there was, even there, older people who'd want to call you an in girl, back then Black wasn't that popular. But they thought it was putting me down. But I knew they were talking about me, so I responded. I was just 12, 13, 14, 15. And so, but the experience that I got from there learned me how to love people who don't love me, right? So, and I just kept on making friends, or what I thought was friends. And so just treating people really good and learning how to treat people, and walk past people who would holler out ugly things to me. I learned how to walk past them. So that job taught me that, and I can walk past them today with no problem, right? But usually I don't. I usually turn around and respond these days because I'm pretty sick of it. But anyway, so in high school, I loved school so much. I was going to summer school voluntarily. And I would they're like, you don't have to go to summer school, but I wanted to. And nobody, my parents did the best job to me that they could. But no, I didn't have anybody to say, hey, if you do this, you can do this. If you take this class, you can do this. Or here's a schedule that'll lead you on the pathway to your desired career, right? But we did have the school counselor. And he was a Filipino man, very short in stature, kind of stocky. And he called me in the office one day and he said, Margena, what are you trying to do? And I said, what do you mean? What am I trying to do? And, you know, my mom didn't prepare me for this, but he said, what are you trying to do? And I said, I don't know. I'm just going to school and I'm looking forward to becoming, you know, a junior next year. He said, well, you have enough credits, you know, to skip the 11th grade and go to 12th grade because you've been coming to school for 3 years straight, you know, going to summer school and everything. And he said, what are you trying to be? And I said, I want to be a lawyer. Oh my God. I can remember his face right now. I get teary-eyed sometimes. He sat back in his chair with such disappointment, and he looked at me with shameful face, like I had said something really bad about his mother. Like, I mean, he said, oh no. Unfortunately, he leans in, you're not academically inclined to become good lawyers. You would not make a good lawyer, Margena. And he told me that. And I said, oh, okay, because I trusted him. I trusted him. But little did I know that systemic thread that he's holding on to, that came along with our forefathers and said, you can't do this, you can't do that, you can't do this, we don't want you to be that. That was his part to feed into me and stop me from being what I wanted to be. I went home to my mom and I cried. I said, oh, he said, my counselor said, what else he told me? He said, but what you can do, he's holding these papers. We have home economics classes. We have 2 that you can take. I said, I already took one. And that teaches you how to cut a grapefruit and how to set a table. He said, you would be so good at that.
Wow.
And I said, I don't want to take home economics. So that's when I went home and I told my mom, I said, he's want to put me in a home economics class again. And I don't want to do that. I don't want to learn how to bake biscuits. That's what they taught, you know. And my mother said, he did what? And I said, he told me that I wasn't academically inclined. I didn't even know what that meant. I probably even pronounced it wrong. My mom knew immediately what he was doing. I wasn't aware of what he was doing. But by the next morning, when I got to school, he called me in the office and he had all these little tags laying out on his table. And he said, Margena, you can pick any class you want. And I said, I can? He said, yeah. He said, you can pick any class you want. What I didn't know is my mom had beat me to school and told his butt off and told him he better give me everything, even his shirt. So she just mama. Right. But then, you know, but then he had planted that seed.
Oh yeah, already.
And I would not succeed. Yeah. Yeah. And it hurt me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's only hurting me today because thousands of kids have come through that office and have gotten remarks like that.
Yeah.
My tears are for them. It's not because I'm not a lawyer today, because I fight for people with these 2 fists and anything else I have. But it's like, how many more people did you turn away from their dream?
Who didn't have a mom to speak up for them.
Who didn't have a mom.
Or didn't tell their mom, right?
They just kept it.
Didn't know.
Yeah.
They did it so smoothly.
Yeah.
I never thought I'd be called in the office for going to summer school every year. Yeah. You know, it wasn't a pat on the back. It's just like, what are you trying to do? Right. Some kind of way I was off of their pathway that they had for us, right? So I got to skip 11th grade. But now he trained the next vice principal, and he trained the next vice principal, and then the secretary gets in on it. And I mean, it becomes the ocean that grows into the river, that flows into the stream, that breaks down into all these different vessels that go to different places and affect so many people.
Yeah.
So just this one man
Yeah.
could change thousands of kids, their trajectory,
Yeah.
because of how he felt.
Right.
The school counselor was not there for me. But you know what? I wanted a college prep class. I really didn't know what college prep meant. I just know all the smart white people were there. And so I wanted, to be in that class.
Yeah.
And I tell you who my homeroom teacher was, Don Parada, who is, he I don't know if he's still serving now, but he's been serving in Sacramento for a long time, and he's been a representative. I don't know, he's been a lot of official things, but he was wonderful to me. I felt he made me feel like I was his pet, and he made every kid feel like they were the special one. Like, you're the special one, you're gonna do it, you're gonna make it someday. So I would hear that from him. And then when I went to the vice principal who was over him, and they bring me back and say, no, you can't do that. You can't do this. No. And a home economics class, there was nothing lower. PE was above that. It's like, but I didn't know at the time. So they take advantage of people and kids, children who don't know when they're being talked to in a condescending way. Kids who don't know what that means if they say you're not academically inclined. People who say you can't do anything. Kids are like little sponges. I teach them all the time, all through the week. And whatever you teach them, they'll soak it up. So I hate that this man was teaching me something that was not true about me. I could have been anything I wanted to be. And I certainly, as I got older, I depended on God to tell me what he wanted me to be. So his ugly ways hurt me and brought me down and made me, like humble to a place that I didn't need to be. I didn't need to be there. But then when I got God in my life, he made up all the difference of anything that man tried to do to my future. So there's only two ways to live this life, with him or without him. That's how I feel. So thank God that that he is now with me. And since my college days, I kind of recycled that evil that happened to me. But I'm just one person. How many people are my age and hurt by an educator like that? Somebody you trusted,
And you're just one person with one school, and we're talking about a lot of other schools across the country where there have been people. I mean, I'm an educator of 30 years, and I definitely hope I didn't cause damage or injury like that. And there are teachers and counselors and principals, and I mean, in every system, whether it's a corporate world or whether it's a school system or a political system, there are people who find that they think they know what's best for each and every other member of the society.
Right.
Right. And so it's painful to think about what you experienced as one individual with this counselor, knowing that this counselor touched,
Yes.
manipulated, is really what I would like to say, many lives.
Yeah.
And
there till he retired.
The vulnerable.
Yes.
Very vulnerable.
Right. And he just didn't want me in the college prep class. He just didn't want me there. He could have just easily gave it to me and I could pass or fail. But why was it so important for him to keep me from that? Why was it so important?
Yeah.
And it's what happens today. It's still important to, white people to keep things from us. You know, and I think about our history, how our names
We're changed.
have been erased because they didn't want us to know who we were. They didn't want us to know that we came from royalty. They didn't want us to know those things. Somebody said, I wonder if the counselor couldn't handle that idea that you might progress further in life than he.
Very good.
Thank you, Larry.
Very good point.
Thank you. Because, you know, some of our goals were like, we want to become a teacher like you, you know, they're like, no, don't come after my job, right? And we have very few Black teachers in the school system, very few, but the ones we had, they would, you know, try to encourage us as much as possible. You can do this, you can do this, you know, and then you get to the head of the school and they're like, but you can't do that.
Right.
Yeah. Something you said though about changing our name. So my great grandfather, his name was Tom, and he was 9 years old when a horse kicked him and broke his leg. And he was a slave. And the slave master drove him out in the woods and left him there as being useless. I don't know how long he stayed in the wilderness like that as a little boy. I don't know what he ate. I don't know how he took care of himself. But God sent this man down a road and his wagon broke. No, it didn't break. It got stuck in the mud. His wagon got stuck in the mud and he couldn't move. And so Tom came with that one broken leg and one good leg out of wherever he was living in the woods. And he helped the man get out of the ditch with that one leg broken and that one good leg. When the man got out of the ditch, he said, well, you can come home with me, boy. We'll take you home because you know how to do things. So we'll take you. When they took him home, he told him his name was Tom. We don't even know his last name. He said, well, your name now is Fanny. And so you could be Tom Fanny. And Fanny was the name of the guy's wife. The guy who brought him home, that was his wife's name, Fanny. He said, we're going to name you after my wife. So Fanny, your name is Tom Fanny. So right now, all my cousins, aunts and uncles, my mother's maiden name is Fanny. And their history can't go back further than that because we don't know who he is. They changed his name. He had to take that name. He was grateful to take the home. He didn't know, like, how's he going to find his family if they don't know he's a Fanny? So that's how the Fannies came in my family. But it started right there at that plantation when the man took him home. So my mom wrote a little book about it called Little Tom. And it talks about him and the horse. But, you know, the thing about why was it so important for them to change our name? Because there's strength in unity.
Absolutely. Well, and that's addressed in the movie, you know, Roots. I mean, you see the scene where they're whipping.
Oh, yeah. What's your name?
Toby.
What's your name?
He's
Right.
not saying it. It's not my name.
Yeah.
I was just crying so hard in that scene because it was just such a, not just because the whipping, but that loss of his identity, like who he
Right.
was, and that
Right. Yeah.
out of him, you know, that.
Yeah. Yeah. It's really a big deal. And when I think about, you know, how that started like hundreds of years ago, how to manipulate a whole society to believe the ill beliefs of a handful, or, people in government, they say, oh, Black men aren't human, Black men aren't men, they're animals. And then, one teaches one teaches one teaches one. And now today, when it becomes convenient for a white person to lash out, they use those things because it's come down the system, and they've heard it from their grandparents, and they've heard it from their parents. And now here it is, they're using their white privilege to say, oh, you're not a man anyway, So until people decide to turn back and say, you were wrong, and I'm going to go for what I believe is right. A lot of people aren't going to face their parents about stuff like this. They're just going to let them go to their grave thinking that you were right, and I'm going to carry on your legacy. But it's a shame that we can't get people to tell their parents.
Yeah. And I think a huge problem has been and continues to be, and we're seeing a rise of it again, is the erasure of Black history, right? All this backlash with critical race theory, and it's all stemming from the system and whites continuing to do stuff and use whatever methods possible to oppress.
Yeah.
What you were saying before, you said so many rich things, Margena, but it's when one in our history, when you look at the United States history, when one thing no longer worked to keep Blacks oppressed, what did whites do? They came up with something else.
Yes.
When it, vigilante didn't work, or community associations, homeowner associations became outlawed to say that you couldn't segregate anymore. You couldn't have in your clauses that Blacks can no longer live here. What happened? Then we had redlining, right? And when that didn't work, then we had, we're going to increase the rents, and because we haven't paid for fair wages, Blacks can't go into certain neighborhoods. So it's just in a society where
they keep moving the field goal. Like we think we're finally going to be able to buy a home, and then they're like, oh no, that's going to be a railroad track, and so moving that.
You can buy a home, but you can't have a loan.
Figure that out, right? Or your credit is based on your zip code and not really what you're able to pay. So it's moving the field goal. I don't know if you guys have ever seen that, the tug of war between the little Black boy and the white boy. The teacher picks out this really big white boy to play tug of war with this little Black guy. And the little Black guy is struggling, and everybody's thinking he's just going to be plummeted over. So, and the white guy almost gets him to the end, and then the Black guy just gets some strength, and he brings him all the way over, and all the kids are saying, yay! And the teacher said, no, you have to come to here.
Oh my God.
You have to come to here. You should look it up.
What is it called?
It says Black and white boy, tug of war, teacher moves goal, or whatever, something like that. It is heartbreaking. It lasts for a long time. This little boy is holding on for dear life, and that's how we feel. God said that is so much how we feel. Like we've been pulling and pulling, trying to get good jobs, trying to get a good education, trying to, be in harmony with our neighbors and all of this. And you keep moving the field goal. Why we can't get along?
Right.
Now it's because of this. Now it's because of that. But now you're giving us reasons to say, you know what? I don't care if I don't get along with you. There'll never be another George Floyd, that we will not turn your house upside down. You know what I'm saying? Because that was too much. All of it's been too much. But they keep moving the field goal where, just like my vice principal did. He said, I couldn't do this because I was going to school. Why couldn't I do this? He moved the field goal.
Right. Yeah.
Well, I'll open it up to any questions. I know we've got 10 minutes. I talk too much probably, but happy to have this time. And
your experiences are very heartfelt, and I feel a lot of pain for what you have been through and what other people are still going through. And you're absolutely right. And I know that Larry put a comment in, it wasn't profitable to think of Black people as equal. The the only way they could abuse them without feeling guilt was to think of them as less than,
Yeah.
right?
Thank you,
And
Larry.
that's still, I mean, Larry, that we still saw that in the murder of George Floyd.
Yeah.
We see that, you know, in the acquittal of the George Zimmerman, you know, for Trayvon Martin.
Yeah.
I mean, that was like, it's clear, it's obvious that there's crime here. And so, yeah, you were going to say something. I'm
Well,
very
I mean,
emotional. So.
that profitable piece, you know, that's whites in America, colonial period and stuff. It was a profit. Like blacks were brought over to work the land because it was profitable. And
Right.
every other countries were starting to end slavery, and the United States didn't. And that's a big lie. You know, we were founded on people being created equal and democracy, yet the founders were having slaves because it was profitable.
Yeah. It wasn't maybe a month ago, my grandson pulled over in Texas because he was driving black with a Cadillac. You know, it wasn't that long ago. It's still going on. And even though they had their sniffing dogs, that wasn't good enough. They were all up under his seat everywhere. They just couldn't believe he didn't have anything. You know, it's a mess.
You know, even
Just
out
live
here,
in peace. Huh?
yeah, we want you to live in peace.
Mhm.
I was gonna say, even out here, we went to the Safeway in El Cerrito and watched the police profile the people coming in. I went in, nobody followed me down the aisle. A black man walked in, they followed him 3 aisles.
I think I even had a backpack on.
Yeah.
Which, you know,
Nobody came
would
up to her to
Right.
check her
that someone
backpack.
would come up, and I
Right.
was just freely walking around, and then someone else came in.
Y'all have fun.
And Larry, yeah, colonialism was based on white supremacy.
Yeah. It's crazy, but you know, I have not given up hope.
What gives you the hope? What is? Yeah.
Well, what gives me the hope is that, first of all, a promise that God gave me. He said, vengeance is his. And he said, I am his chosen people. And he said, people will try to change your name, but your surname is mine. I give you a surname. So he already knew people would be messing with our names. But when you become in the family of Christ, he gives you a surname. So I know who I belong to. And that gives me hope that I live on his promises. Like, man, you lean on man, they'll fall over. But you lean on Jesus, you got a solid rock behind you. So that's my hope. That's my hope. And it's my hope because I see nonprofits like the ones that I work for who are going in and making a difference. And people are recognizing why they need to serve, why they need to give, why we need to help these children in school. And it's growing and it's catching on and it's working. So that's another reason why I have hope.
And you work with children, and the work you do with them brings more hope into the world, developing young people to be affirmed and beautiful and loved, just like your mom did with you, you know. So yeah, somebody wrote a question. As a social worker grad student, how do I ensure that I am not unconsciously perpetuating systems of oppression? It's a really good question.
That is a great question. We have time to answer it.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
I would like to answer it because for one thing, it's not that, you know, some people say, I don't even see color. We don't want that.
No,
We want you to see and recognize that I'm standing here in spite of everything you know is true. I'm standing here. And if you're a social worker, I'm coming to you because I need your help. And so don't judge me by what you see first. Oh, it's a Black person, another, you know, one in line, or, you know, don't get tired where you become that person who just just place a number on our chest and sends us down the line. Like, can you listen to me, please? And can you help me like you help everybody else? I have stood in a welfare line, and not saying that's the kind of social worker you are, but I stood in a welfare line for my child because she was hit by a car. Her husband was dying. They needed food stamps. I was standing in line right here in Oakland at Eads Avenue. It was raining. They had a line of people. And when I got there, when they finally opened the doors, a certain group of people got to go at this desk. And then the other people who looked like me had to go to this other desk. Well, they gave me a stack of papers like this. And after I went through all of that and filled out all that paperwork, they offered my daughter $27. But the desk over here, they were getting emergency cards and emergency vouchers. And I'm like, why can't I be in that line for my daughter? Well, she would need to be here. She's been hit by a car. So like, understand what people like. If you're going to be a social worker, get into the lives of people. Isn't that what social work is? Like, take some care. That's all I would say. Just take some care. Yeah. Stereotyping is a shortcut in thought. What does that mean? Stereotyping is a shortcut in thought.
And I see it as when we stereotype, we cut off the opportunity to think, to process, to actually see people and to connect.
Got it.
That it's like, okay, you're this, so now I know already. I know who you are already. And therefore it delineates the need to think much more than that. Maybe correct me if I'm wrong for the person who wrote that in the chat. And
I don't know if when you go to school to be a social worker or any job that helps people, I don't know if like they teach how to be a hardcore person. It's like almost, I don't know if there's DMV workers here, but everybody says, did the same person train all of them? Because they act like they don't care about you, right? But like, I'm just wondering, like, are they taught to be hard?
Okay, you know what's interesting about that, Margena? We had a fabulous experience at the El Cerrito DMV, and they were they were two black women. They were two black women. We were so loved and received and like, oh yeah, this is annoying. This is difficult stuff. You guys are so patient. Thanks for being patient. And we're like, well, thank you.
Yeah. I mean, you're not going to get that at our DMV. You're not going to get that over here. But anyway, yeah, I would just say, care about the people.
I just think it's such a testament to black, in particular black women, like how strong you all have been, but also the forgiveness. Like we as white people have just been horrible to y'all. We have taken, murdered and raped everything under the book. And yet everyone that we've had on the webinar have just been so forgiven in the sense of wanting community. Like no one's come on and said, I want vengeance. Everyone has come on and said, no, we want to be seen and heard. We want equality. We want our rights. And I just think it's remarkable, because what have whites done? As soon as something's taken away from them, they do more harm, right? Instead of this, like, let's come together, let's see each other, let's hear each other, let's create community and equality and treat people as they should be treated.
Mm-hmm. And I think that's why a lot of white people are, I'm going to say, hateful and resentful, because they think that we want them to turn the other cheek, right? I mean, they think that we are going to get vengeance on them. Like, we want to do what they've done to us. We want to do that to them. No, we want to live in peace. And we want to let, your wrath be your wrath, and we want to live in peace, and we want our reparations, right? But so they just think that we're going to retaliate. And so that's why, they're walking in fear almost as much as we are, just for a different purpose. Mm-hmm. They're like, any minute now, we can go into, we can go into a rage and do what they've done to our people.
Yeah.
But that's not what we want.
We saw a very powerful video of a Black woman shortly after the George Floyd murder she was going, she was saying what she felt, and then she said, white people better be damn lucky that we are not seeking revenge. We are seeking equality. I mean, it was powerful. Like it ripped my heart out of my body, and just watching her pain and her tears and her anger and just that final statement, was very very moving, and I'm angry. Like, part of me wants Black people to seek vengeance because what is it going to take?
I know.
And that's part of why, like, we find ourselves very passionate about the movement and the changing of people's lives, and what you said in the beginning, I actually felt some angst, because you said how you were happy that there were people like us who continue. Like, people go on to the marches and they fizzle out. People start this activity and they fizzle out. And honestly, yes, we created this webinar as sustainable action. We know that we can do this monthly, but we've not been reading as much as we were. We've not been, sending out, we had to kind of trim our funds. So we have not been donating as much as we were. There are things that we're not doing as much of that have fizzled. And it's like we're holding on, to this webinar, and yet it's not enough in my book. Like, I still feel like I need to do more things, even if it's just reading and educating myself in other areas. And so I kind of felt guilty when you were sharing that in the beginning, because, like, yeah, but while we haven't stopped the webinar, there's been some fizzling of other areas, right? And that's really important, so that we want our viewers to know, and I'm saying this to myself, that whatever you can do, make it sustainable. Find something that meets your heart, that aligns with you, that helps another person or the Black community as a whole, and start doing it, even if it's reading 15 minutes a week. Make it sustainable so that you can continue. I mean, the fact that we've been able to say, wow, we've been doing this for 2 years, blows me away. And it's not hard, but we can do hard things. And the Black community, Black members have had to do hard things.
But it's what you can do.
Right.
This is what you can do. And so we it means a lot to me that you're doing what you can do, because you got to do what you can do, and then you leave the rest up to the Holy Spirit, right? You got to leave something for him to do. So do what you can do. And so I want to bring up one more thing, if we have just a second.
Absolutely. Yes. People can leave if they need to. It's recorded. We'll be posting it on YouTube.
Okay, so this thing about like the social worker who's asking, when you fill out those applications, they have, are you white? Not Hispanic. So they're adding that to make sure you're not Hispanic. And then, are you, from Mexico or Mexican, or however they frame it. And then, are you Black? Are you Native American? Are you this? Are you that? Right? So when I look back again at name change, when I filled out a job application, it was Negro, right? And other. And then when I get in, my 20s, it's Afro-American or African-American, and then African. And plus we've had Negro, Negra, just all kinds of variations of brownness. And so now it's Black. I'm satisfied with Black. You guys don't have to call me anything else. Don't come up with another name to describe me. You've come through all these generations, but on that same application, white is still white, right? Asian is still Asian. So why do Black people have to come through all these different generations of name changes, even on a darn application? That it used to be Negro, now you call it. I'm still the same person I was in 1969. I'm the same skin color. I'm the same race. Nothing's changed me. So why do I have to check all your darn boxes of I'm this today, and 3 years from that, I'm this, and years from that, I'm this. And that's why I have a problem with BIPOC. Because now it's yet another acronym to describe who I am. Native Americans are Native Americans. They are the mothers of the land, no doubt about it. Do we have to call people indigenous, marginal, at risk? Do you see at-risk white people? Do you see a nonprofit for at-risk white people? So when they come up with BIPOC, I'm like, well, why don't we call white people WPPPs?
Yeah.
Why not?
Yeah.
We can call them, look, white power, white people of power and privilege. WPPPs.
Yeah.
Why don't we put that on an application? Are you one of those? Check that box. WPPP or WPPP. Maybe we do that.
Yeah.
Like we got AAA, we got triple Ps. We got triple Ks. We got triple Ks. We could just do it all. So, but my identity, you've had to change all through these years. The 65 years I've been living, I've checked at least 12 different boxes of who I am.
Yeah.
If you had Negro back then, you could have had Negro today. But no, it was so important for you to change my identity. And then when we embraced it, we embraced African American, and you saw the afros get bigger. You saw the black leather come out. You saw the fists in the air. Oh, no, that's not going to work. Let's call them something else. Maybe they're black.
You know, that's a really interesting, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for bringing that up. And it's interesting because, you know, then we also had affirmative action, and we've got different people. Like when I've asked this question, we've had people who say, no, I'm African American, I'm not black. My skin is black, but I consider myself African American. So I think from what I've seen, we've gotten into a society who's trying to find a way to have people feel comfortable in their skin. And not everybody's going to agree.
Yeah.
Right? I have had a very hard time checking the box white because I'm Jewish, and I've had family members murdered in concentration camps by white people who were not Jewish.
Right.
And so it's very interesting because there are some people who are like, but I'm African American. And my son actually works with Native American people who also like to be referred to as indigenous. So it's hard, right? It's hard to please everybody. And so that's why in this situation, and maybe this goes to the forms, write down who you are instead of check the box. There's a doggy that just made some noise on that one.
Yeah, but, you know, can I just be a woman looking for a job?
Yeah.
Right.
Can I just be a woman applying for Social Security?
Right.
Can I just be that?
Well, and unfortunately, there are certain grants and scholarships and funds that are for special groups, right?
Right. And so then they grasp, oh, we want at-risk youth. I haven't heard of at-risk youth until a grant opportunity came up. And we're like, at-risk youth, this was like years ago. Right? They start using at risk, now at hope, at this, at that. I'm like, they're just kids who need a job and an opportunity and education and money and housing and a friend.
Yeah.
But we have to describe them. And so the people who have these grants, they want us to label our kids lower and lower. But when a kid reads the grant and they say, only marginalized, what kid wants to hear, I'm a marginalized youth? What kid wants to hear that?
Right.
I'm at risk of what? I'm at risk of you hurting me. That's what I'm at risk of. I'm at risk of you keep labeling me. What are we going to be next? Yeah. White people still white people on the application.
That's very true.
Yeah. WPPP, white people with privilege and power.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you, Margena.
Yeah.
You are a beautiful woman.
Yeah. Such an honor to have you here tonight.
I appreciate this opportunity. Maybe my family is even more grateful, so I'm not venting to them over and over and over. Do you know?
You're welcome back anytime.
Yes, we'd love to have you.
We in fact love to have you and Zuri and Ty and any other family members that want to come on and be a whole group. I just put in the chat for anybody who's still here or who anybody's watching the replay. The donations are if you're willing, we will be making a donation on by the choice of Margena to the Catalyst Youth Network. Put the website in the chat. We'll put it in the comments in Facebook as well. It's https://www.catalyst Catalyst YN for youthnetwork.org/. So if you're willing and able to make a donation, and those of you who are attending who came in through our Zoom platform, and we will be sending you a follow-up email with all the links to all the different things you can do to become a more learned ally. And you know what's interesting is some of our guests from the past who are Black, who are Native American, etc., have actually said that the resources were helpful for them too. You know, that all of us can help spend a little time to become more educated, to support each other and one another. So if there are any closing words from the guests, feel free to put them in the chat. Pour some love into Margena. We would love that as well. And Margena, did you have any final thing you wanted to share?
Just thank you and bless this network, bless what you do. And, you know, you got me as supporter.
Thank you. Well, we're grateful to you.
Thank you so much.
Thank your godmother for being here as well, and to your daughter who also is here. She came in. I had to get her. I had to go in and quickly approve the link. So I hope you didn't hear my typing too much. And our social worker friend, thank you for being here, and Larry, thank you. So. All right. Well, we'll stop streaming into the Facebook. Goodbye, everybody on Facebook.
Thanks for joining. We had people from Washington on.
Oh, wonderful.
Lovely.
Yeah.